Okay, so this is the question that everyone has been asking. If Bernie Sanders had been the Democratic nominee, would he have defeated Donald Trump in the general election? Well, let's break this down. Well, first of all, we have to bring up the fact that WikiLeaks has exposed the Clinton campaign ties to the DNC, which is the Democratic National Committee, and how the DNC had rigged the primary in Hillary's favor from the very beginning of the election. Now, the DNC, also known as Democratic National Committee, is supposed to have a nonpartisan election in which the people choose the candidate, and they're supposed to be the so-called moderators, and they're not supposed to be biased. So, first of all, the structure of the Democratic Party primary was extremely in favor of Hillary Clinton, with Bernie Sanders not being known nearly as much as Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton had relied on the lack of amount of debates in order for people to not get his message out there. In 2008, when Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama ran against each other in the Democratic primary, there were 26 debates. Do you know how many there were in 2016? 9. Imagine if Bernie Sanders was able to get out his message during all of those extra debates he could have used his platform for. Remember that every time there was a debate, his polling numbers would go up, and not to mention the time that they had a Flint, Michigan debate right before the Michigan primary, he pulled the biggest poll upset in the history of elections. Just keep that in mind. Okay, moving on. Hillary Clinton is a very weak and unelectable general election candidate, as we know now, based on the general election polls with Clinton versus Trump and Sanders versus Trump. So it's going to be a hypothetical based on, at the time, election polls, and also based on unfavorable ratings. Hillary's unfavorable rating is 55.4%. Unfavorable to 41.3% favorable, which is a majority unfavorable candidate, which is just embarrassing. You shouldn't even think you're going to win with that. Sanders favorable, on the other hand, is 54.1% favorable to 37.5% unfavorable. Now let's look at the polls. From February to May, there was not a single general election poll between Sanders and Trump that gave Trump a lead. And keep in mind, Fox News was in this a few times. Okay? And all of Sanders' victories were double digits except for 4 of them. These were blowing doors off margins of victory. For fairness, I used the same time frame in terms of months to be as accurate as possible for Clinton as well. In these polls, Hillary is losing in 5 of them within this 4-month span, and she had 0 double-digit victories in May to June. She was the weaker candidate. Now to mention the fact that Bernie Sanders had more energy in his campaign, and he had the ability to get people out to vote. As shown by the favorable rating, while we know now that Hillary's campaign is weak, no enthusiasm, and as a result of her unfavorable rating, she was a losing, and I cannot emphasize this enough, unelectable candidate. Bernie Sanders would not have had much ground to lose, as Trump would not have been able to continuously paint his image to be as if he's anti-establishment, against the TPP, he's going to bring jobs back to America, and he's going to treat the workers well, and as if he cares about the American people, which is bullshit. He's saying this as if he didn't say he wants to keep the minimum wage as a starving wage, $7.25 an hour, so that American corporations, the very strong minority, can compete with China's corporations. Bernie Sanders would not have had the terrible past, history, and baggage that Hillary Clinton had, and Bernie Sanders would have effectively been able to bring up the hypocrisy of Donald Trump on his policy instead of the strategy of Hillary Clinton to bring up PC outrage and talking about how he used bad language and bad rhetoric that Donald Trump used. So yes, to answer your question, Bernie Sanders would have won the 2016 general election had he been the Democratic candidate and not been cheated out of a rigged DNC primary.